So I got a Ouija board story from a pastor, and it is absolutely insane. Wait till you guys hear this. So this person's name is Rev, and they moved to Orange, Texas, and they used to live in Logansport, Louisiana, and his father gets a phone call that the house in Logansport, Louisiana got broken into. So his dad has to go up there and see what's missing and kind of fix everything that was destroyed while the break-in had occurred. While his dad is cleaning everything up, he finds a Ouija board that belongs to his daughter. Now, this Ouija board was given to her by her stepmom. So his father, being very religious, was like, we have to get rid of this thing, but I know if we try to get rid of this thing and just throw it away, it's just going to come back. So he takes a match, he tries to light the Ouija board with it, and the match just goes out. He then goes into the garage and he finds some charcoal fluid and he pours it all over the Ouija board. He then takes a lighter, he puts a lighter to it, and it will not set on fire. He almost uses the whole entire bottle of the lighter fluid and the matches, and this Ouija board will not burn. Here is where it gets wild. So his dad's a big believer in God, so he starts asking God for guidance on what he should do. So he goes into the garage, he finds some lawnmower gas, and he takes the lid off of it. Then lays the board crossways, he fills the bottom of the box with gas and a little bit on top on the board. He then takes the match and he lights it on this end of the board, right on like the edges of the board, and he starts to pray. Ouija board then goes up in flames in the center of the board, not where he is lighting it. So him and his daughter, seeing this, are a little bit frazzled by this, so they take a step back, and as they do this, the flame engulfs about 15 to 20 feet up in the air. Then they hear this loud shrieking scream coming from the middle of the board, and it's just getting louder and louder. The screams continue, and then the fire goes into the ground with this big rumble. Then this black big smoke figure appeared, and this thing was so black that it was literally blacker than like void. And this thing that is screaming at this point and is completely black starts to proceed towards his father. Every direction that his father is going, this thing is following. His dad then turns his back and walks away, and this thing follows and then lets out one vicious scream, and then it's just gone. And they look at the ground where the Ouija board was, and there's like an indent in the ground, and the board is just in ashes. After this, his dad and his sister come home, and they go to church the next day, and everything is fine. They're having a great time or whatever, and they think everything is good. So they thought. The next day they go to church, everything is fine, so they think. They come home, they try to open their doors, they can't open their doors. The locks are not working on any 4 of their doors in their house. So his dad's like, you know what, we have to get in the house, so I'm gonna have to push in the door and break it. We'll fix it later. So he's pushing in on the door, kind of like trying to break the glass from inside of the door, when suddenly the glass just shatters his way, and it goes all over him. Almost like something had thrown something out of the glass. They're a little rattled by this, but they're like, okay, whatever, we have to get inside of the house. So they go inside of the house, and when they get into the house, his dad feels something running down his leg. So he takes off his slacks that he wore to church, and there is blood running down his leg. He has this huge gash on his leg that he did not even feel. So they think it's odd, but they bandage him up. They think everything's going to be okay, but little did they know that this would be a lifetime of the beginning of hell for them. So they live in a duplex that his grandfather had allowed them to rent from him. They rented both sides and made it one big home. So it was after the Ouija board incident that they noticed that weird things started happening around the house. So one night, it was really late, and Rev and his father are watching TV when suddenly they hear this sound, and it sounds like this clicking sound, and it sounds like it's coming from the wall. So this clicking sound is getting louder and louder, and they're trying to figure out where it's coming from, when suddenly the front door just opens by itself. But the weird thing is when the door opened, the deadbolt was still sticking out, but it was not bent. So essentially, the door opened with it still being locked and the deadbolt still sticking out. So how that is even possible, they don't even know. So his dad gets up to go shut the door again because he's like, what the hell? And as soon as he walks towards the door, he gets this gush of cold wind that goes through him. But the only thing is that there was another door in front of that padlock door, and so the wind should not have been coming in. So he stumbles back a little bit, and then he looks at Rev and he's like, what is going on? And then he just walks over to the door and he just shuts it again, and then he goes down and he sits back down on the couch, a little in shock. But it just gets worse and worse as it goes on. So his dad, being really confused by this gush of wind, decides that he's going to put a piece of paper in front of his sister's door because he wants to see if there's any draft. So he puts the paper in front of his sister's door, and they're just sitting there watching TV when suddenly his father is like, that paper is moving. So Rev looks over, the paper's not moving, and he thinks his dad is messing with him, and he's like, okay. So he turns back and watches TV, and his dad goes, no, look again, it's moving. So he looks again, he doesn't see it, and his dad's like, no, look out of the corner of your eye and you will see it moving. So Rev looks at it from the corner of his eye, and he's right, it is moving. So his dad's like, let's stare at it and see if it moves if we just stare at it. So they start staring at it for a second, and this paper just starts moving violently, almost like it's spinning like a top. So his dad gets up to go see what the hell is going on, and as soon as he walks over to his sister's room, his sister's door flies open, except for the deadbolt was on, and so when it flew open, the deadbolt was still on, but it wasn't bent, it was straight, just like the front door. So they're pretty freaked out about this, but they end up going to bed. And later on that night, Rev is sleeping, and his brother comes into his room and goes, what are you doing? Well, can you please leave me alone? And Rev is like, what are you talking about? And he's like, first of all, how did you get from Tim's room to this room so quickly? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he said, you were just jumping on my bed, and then you ran out of my room. And Rev was like, I was not jumping on your bed. I have been asleep. So his brother goes back to sleep, and a couple minutes later, he comes out of his room, and he comes into Tim's room. Tim is their cousin, and he's he's screaming at Tim and Rev. And he's like, stop jumping on my bed. And they're like, no one is jumping on your bed. You're having a bad dream. Go back to sleep. So Rev goes back to his room. He locks his door and then he's laying down and he's listening to music on his headboard. Well, he's listening to music when suddenly he hears this rattling of his door, and it's rattling and it starts to rattle violently. And he's like, stop. Whoever's doing that, stop. And no one says anything. And then the door starts rattling so hard that he hears glass shatter. So he's looking around his room trying to figure out what that sound was of glass breaking, and he notices that his full-length mirror has shattered, but only in one spot, and it looks like this spider gash, like somebody had punched it. Things continued to happen after this, like lights would turn on, things would move by themselves, and his dad was really the only person who had ever been hurt by whatever this thing was, but he would be the next target because he would have the worst sleep paralysis incident of his life. He had fallen asleep with the lights on and he woke up and he could not move. He could move his eyes around. They were open apparently, but he could not move his head. Then he notices black spots floating all around the room, on the walls, on the bed, on the floor, everywhere. All of a sudden, his arms shoot out straight to the side of his bed, like they're being pulled tightly. His legs stiffened and something put one of his legs on top of the other one. So his legs were like crisscrossed. And he sees this huge black shadow and it forms into a skeleton, and he sees the skeleton face, and the skeleton face is laughing, and a laugh that he had never heard before. His head then moves to the side, which your head should not be moving. You should not be moving at all during sleep paralysis. So this is insane. And as soon as his head moves to the side, he feels this agonizing pain in both of his hands and his feet. He feels this pain in his side that is so bad that he literally starts to cry and he blacks out from the pain. He finally wakes up. He gasps for air like he was just coming out of water, and his hands and his feet and his sides still hurt so bad, and this lasted for days before it subsided. And this is the wild part, like it wasn't already wild. He tells his dad about this, and his dad goes, you were crucified. Now they ended up selling that house eventually after 8 or 9 years of going through absolute hell, and the people who bought the house after them burned it to the ground and refused to sell the land. So he says to this day, he still has dreams about angels and demons fighting in that house. And this story was so long, I couldn't even compact it in this. So I will eventually be putting it on my... So watch out for it in a couple days. Since he did stay in this house for like 8 or 9 years, I would like to know what his experiences were during that time. Would you guys? Because if you do, drop them in the comments. I don't really have time to talk about the story because we're literally getting to 8 minutes and 30 seconds. But if you guys have any comments, suggestions on anything that this could be or what it was, demonic, I think it was demonic. That's what it sounds like. Drop it in the comments. Any suggestions, thoughts, comments. But please, as always, be respectful. And now I'm going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. First shout out is going to Cowboy2 with a K. You are so sweet. You left such a sweet comment. You said that you wish that I did more stories because every time you go to bed, I am right next to your pillow. I love that so much. I love that you listen to my stories at night because I listen to scary stories too, and that makes me feel so special. Thank you so much. I wish I could do more stories, and I might eventually start doing more than one story a day if I can get there. I will get there, I promise you guys, but thank you for that. That is unwavering support, and it means so much to me. I love you. _feisty_Pisces. I loved your comment. You said that you say spooky kisses and haunted hugs to your kids every single night. I love that so much. You have no idea. So I'm going to say it to your kids tonight, okay? So to your kids, spooky kisses and haunted hugs. I hope you have a great night. I'm giving you all shout outs. Thank you so much. I love it when families watch me, and even though they're probably too little to watch me, the fact that you guys say that together melts my heart. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you for your unwavering support. Thank you for just being kind. It means so much to me, and thank you for making me a part of your little routine as a family. I love you all. I don't have time, but spooky kisses and haunted hugs. Love you guys.